A guy walks into a gun range, rents a rifle, and decides to swap in his own trigger. A forced reset trigger. A few days later, he's in handcuffs facing federal charges for possessing a machine gun. Now, this isn't some gun-running mastermind or a ghost gun movie plot. This is an everyday gun owner who made one bad decision that turned his range trip into a legal nightmare. And I'm covering the story for one reason: to keep you from ending up in the same situation, because most people have no idea how messy the law gets when it comes to these triggers. So, according to the charging document, which includes a ton of redactions, the defendant went to a public indoor gun range and rented a semi-automatic rifle. During this session, he installed a forced reset trigger that he had brought with him. Once the modification was discovered, the range suspended his rental privileges and sent him away. The incident was reported and investigators began looking into what happened. That investigation led to a residential search warrant for the defendant's home. After a knock and announce and a reasonable wait, they forced entry into the residence. Inside, they found the defendant alone and detained him without incident. While clearing the area, investigators observed what appeared to be a 3D printed force reset trigger in plain view on a workstation near the defendant's bed, and several more 3D printed FRTs next to it. Because of that discovery, investigators obtained an addendum warrant to seize electronic devices from the residence for further analysis. After collecting the evidence, the defendant was taken into custody. So that's the sequence laid out in the charging document: a rental modification that escalated into a full search warrant, and arrest involving suspected 3D printed force reset triggers. Now, the real question is why that kind of escalation happened so quickly, and what separates something like this from Rare Breed's FRT-15, which the federal government has now explicitly recognized as not a machine gun. Force reset triggers have been in legal limbo for years. The concept goes back to the early 2000s when Brian Blakely first patented a force reset design. The ATF's determination back then: machine gun. Another company, Wolf Tactical, tried with a different version. Same conclusion. Fast forward to 2020, a company called Rare Breed Triggers purchases one of those original patents, refines the design, and releases the FRT-15. It's semi-auto, it resets mechanically, and for a while, it's the hot item in the gun community. But it didn't take long for the ATF to take issue. In July 2021, they sent Rare Breed a cease and desist letter labeling the trigger a machine gun conversion device. In 2022, they raided Rare Breed's manufacturer, doubling down on that classification. Rare Breed fought back in court, arguing that their trigger still requires one pull of the trigger for each shot fired, that the force reset mechanism simply returns the trigger faster but doesn't eliminate the pull entirely. That small mechanical difference, that distinction between forced reset and continuous fire, became the foundation of their legal battle. After years of back and forth litigation, the DOJ finally dismissed its case in 2025, withdrew its appeal, and entered into a settlement agreement. That settlement specifically acknowledged that Rare Breed's FRT-15 is not classified as a machine gun under the National Firearms Act. But here's the catch. That ruling didn't change the law for everyone. It didn't redefine what a machine gun is. It just carved out one very specific exemption for one very specific trigger. In June 2025, the ATF released a follow-up notice ordering all seized FRT-15s and WOTs returned to their owners, but it included one very clear disclaimer. The settlement agreement only covers eligible FRTs. Machine gun conversion devices such as switches, drop-in auto sears, lightning links, or trigger control group travel reducers are not covered. Translation: if it's not a Rare Breed FRT-15 specifically named in that settlement, you're not protected. And if your trigger even looks or functions similarly, you could still find yourself facing federal charges depending on how it's interpreted by whoever's enforcing it that day. That's the real danger here. The mechanical line between legal and felony is razor thin, and the ATF has a long history of changing interpretations without changing the actual statute. So yes, Rare Breed won their case, but what they really won was an exception, not a precedent. Their ruling protects their trigger, their customers, and the plaintiffs in that Texas case. Everyone else is still standing in the fog. And that brings us back to this case. You've got a man who modified a rental gun with a trigger that doesn't fall under Rare Breed's protection, and then allegedly had 3D printed versions of similar triggers at home. Whether or not you agree with how the ATF enforces these rules, the outcome is the same. That gray area can cost you everything. And that right there, that gray area, is why I started my Defend America line in the first place. Because every time we see another case like this, it's a reminder that freedom doesn't defend itself. It's not just about guns, it's about mindset, about responsibility. It's about standing your ground when the line keeps moving. So, if you believe in that same principle, that freedom isn't given, it's defended. Check out my Defend America line at shop.mrcolionnoir.com. I'll put a link in the description section of this video. We've got designs dropping hats, tees, hoodies, drinkware, all built around the same message. Defend the culture, defend your rights, defend America. And, you know, it probably may or may not have hurt for him to have this shirt on too when they arrived at his house. I don't know. I may be wrong. It might have helped, it might not have helped. I'm just saying. But if you want the shirt, we got that over at shop.mrcolionnoir.com too, along with the hat and everything else that we have on the site. So click the link in the description section of the video and go ahead and check that out. Because as stories like this prove, the moment you stop defending your rights, someone else will start redefining them for you. So here's the takeaway. Know exactly what you're installing. Understand the legal standing of the parts you own, and don't assume one company's win in court covers you. Because right now the ATF's position is narrow. The definitions are inconsistent, and a single misunderstood part can turn a day at the range into a federal investigation. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Rare Breed fought and won their battle, but that victory doesn't extend to every trigger. The law is still vague, the enforcement's still arbitrary, and the consequences, unfortunately, is still severe. One thing's for certain and two things are for sure. Politicians and tech giants don't want gun content to be recommended to you. And we're all fighting this culture war together. Now you can help do your part by liking, commenting, subscribing to the channel, but most importantly, sharing this video with at least one person. Together we can stop the suppression of our 2A rights. And don't forget to click the link in the description section of this video for the products that I mentioned in this video.